Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching and listening to Historian Radio, and this is Echoes of the News. And I am Muhammad Hussain Qazi, and these are today's headlines from the past. On this day, the 3rd of October, 1811, the first women's cricket match between Hampshire and Surrey began. This would be one of the first women's sporting events in the history of the modern world. This would definitely be followed by many other such sports as well, such as the Women's Basketball League or the Women's Football League, and many such events like so. Continuing on this date, in 1906, SOS or Save Our Souls replaced the international call for distress, which at the time was CDQ, which stood for Come Damn Quick. It replaced or was replaced by SOS, a form that is still used to this date. Moving forward, in 1929, the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes became known as the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia would be one of the most important countries in the history of the 20th century, first being a monarchy, and then, after the Second World War, would become a socialist country, a socialist non-aligned country, under President Josip Broz Tito. It would be such until the 1990s, when it would have several internal conflicts and would unfortunately collapse. And on this very day, the 3rd of October, 1932, the Times, as in the newspaper, the Times used Stanley Morrison's Times New Roman font for the first time. Now, many of us use Microsoft Word today and are keen on using Times New Roman. This then would be a historic day for those users of Times New Roman, for this would be the first time in the history of print media and fonts that Times New Roman would be used. And continuing on this date, in 1952, the first British atomic device was detonated at Montebello Island off the northwestern coast of Australia. This would thus secure the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland's place amongst the atomic superpowers of the world, thus making an interesting change in the history and the direction of the Cold War. Now we move on to the next segment of our show, where we recount the historical births and deaths of famous figures from the 19th and 20th century and sometimes earlier. Born on this day in 1928 was Sridhar Ramphal, Guyanese politician and Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations. He would be born on this date, the 3rd of October, 1928. He was also known as Sonny Ramphal. And unfortunately, on this date in 1226, Saint Francis of Assisi, the founder of the Franciscan order, who received the stigmata, the wounds of Christ, was in great pain and suffering leading up to his death, which unfortunately occurred on this very day, the 3rd of October, 1226. And on this unfortunate note, we conclude our headlines for today. This was Historian Radio's Echoes of the News, and I am Muhammad Hussain Qazi, and these are today's headlines as history first heard them. Good night.